I've got a 2-minute tip for pelargoniums. Don't use secateurs to deadhead them. So instead what I do is I take hold of the flower stalk and I pull downwards away from the main stem, and then the stalk should snap off cleanly.
I think therapy is a good idea at any age, but I think at that age, I want to say particularly in your early 20s, but not particularly in your late 20s as well. You know, you're still maturing and life is not what you expected it to be. And I think at the time when you feel like you can't let your parents down and the pressure to succeed is so extreme, that can be very nerve-wracking when you're suddenly in this race. You know, peers outsmart you or they outrun you and you think you're a failure and you're always going to be. And being buffeted by such thoughts at that time, I found very, very, very difficult. So there was never a day when I wasn't being grateful for therapy.
And was basically suddenly in the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. What happened after that was basically not a lot of moving, a lot of crying, Sally and Sam not really knowing what to do, but they rallied around and got me to a physio who decided that I probably have what is called a herniated disc. And I'm not going to explain it here, but Google it if you're interested. It's kind of gross and really painful, and it's basically meant that I haven't been able to stand up for very long, walk.
What dish do you like to cook the most? Pilau. Really, pilau. I cook Uzbek pilau, Azerbaijani pilau, and Arabian pilau. And it's always utterly scrumptious, and it's always a huge hit and completely affordable from simple ingredients. And so whenever we plan a get together or we just crave something hearty, I often go for a variety of pilau for the win. And so ultimately the dish that I like to cook the most is pilau.
And I'm always so wired, and I'm also quite restless. And honestly, I find it unhealthy and even frightening. I mean, if I happen to run out of coffee, or if I don't have time at work to go and grab some, I may go nuts and freak out and even kill someone. But all kidding aside, I think I must take care of myself and drink more water instead.
People who like animals fundamentally are uncomfortable with people. People disagree with you. People talk back. People who like animals don't want any of their opinions questioned. And if you think about it, people who really like animals, what animals do they like the most? Goldfish? Hamsters? No, they like something that takes up a lot of space but doesn't have a mind of its own. Like a dog. It's like a person, but it doesn't have any opinions. A dog will completely do whatever it is you want it to do and never answer back.
I'm a special bee, said Norman. I come from a land far, far away called Giant Bee Land. Said Amelia. But then it was time for lessons to start. They began the day with some painting. Then Norman joined in with a buzzing practice before everyone settled down for a nap.
And I think we were the first team to land the first spin, and we decided we wanted to do it in private, so everybody respectfully allowed us to go down a stairwell. It was really, really dark, and all I remember is his little voice going, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I just heard these shuffly footsteps coming towards me, and I was both terrified and exhilarated. And he did it, and was disgusting.
Whose praise of my work is most important? My students, really my students. I mean my university students, English language teachers doing my courses, and trainees on my methodology courses. And they're all good people, they're an incredible bunch of individuals. They're kind, they are diligent, they're curious, and they're infinitely passionate about the language. And while I greatly value the opinions of my colleagues, it's ultimately the viewpoints of my students that matter most to me.
Which part of my day is most important? When I'm asleep. Seriously, my nap time. I have a big morning slumber, which flows to an afternoon slumber, and little naps in the rest of the day. So when I'm full of energy, I always help with plants, unpack boxes, but my people think that I'm going completely insane, losing my mind.
Still becoming, you're not who you are going to be. And I think when you're suddenly famous at the age when you're still trying to figure things out, that can be very complex. When you're suddenly in this limelight where things are so extreme, people love you or they hate you or they think you're terrible and you'll always be terrible, or you're amazing and you're always going to be. And being buffeted by those storms at that age, I found very, very, very difficult.
Life is a very challenging thing in any case. At times you feel upbeat and bouncy, but there are times when you hit some emotional rough patches. I'd say particularly in our century, but not particularly. Maybe in the past they did as well. But I mean, living in a modern world, on the one hand, you've all the conveniences you need, like food to eat, clothes to wear, and a house to live in. But on the other hand, when you're suddenly bogged down in these emotions and thoughts, and you compare yourself to others.
I'm not saying this to show off, because actually I came out of this very badly. But there was one phrase, and this is what happens, that tripped me up. It was just 3 words. It's ridiculous. 3 words. And I couldn't say it.
So my bag, yes, on this day after we arrived at New York, I was getting up from sitting down, was basically suddenly in the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. What happened after that was basically not a lot of moving, a lot of crying, Sal and Sam not really knowing what to do, but they rallied around and got me to a physio who decided that I probably have what is called a herniated disc.